you see something that doesn't go off until 12 months later. What is in that food?
You prescribe these pills, you're thinking to yourself, this can't be right.
Community is the number one thing to health.
All right, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Make Men Great Again podcast. I've got a very, very special guest with me here today, a former client, Mr. Cam Best. He's going to talk to us about fatherhood, primal living, his journey from struggling with his health to being, the Sunshine Coast hero for all other dads and kids around here. But main reason I wanted to have you on today is just to really share watching all the stuff, all the kind of journey that you've been on from, like I said before, with your health challenges, because I really think that a lot of people, there's a lot of issues with health these days, isn't there?
Absolutely. G'day, Scotty and mate. Thank you for having me at your beautiful Sunshine Coast home.
Pleasure.
It's lovely weather. I'm so excited to sit here together today and talk all things that we love. And what we do love is certainly being the best men and really looking after our health and our families.
100%. And what does that mean for you to be the best man that you can be?
Oh, first and foremost, Scotty, it's just about, I guess, really looking after yourself, making sure you are the best man you can be. And there's heaps of things that I've been doing recently that I'd love to chat to you today about. It's just, I guess, day in, day out, just making sure you're doing the little things to improve upon yourself.
Yeah. And so we'll go into more of the tips and the tricks and all of the things that we can do as far as advice goes for the listeners. But if we were to rewind back to kind of your journey, I was just on your Instagram before and a video popped up, you sharing you had an ulcer or some sort of a tumor. You had some sort of health concern. Walk me through, when was that? What was it? Walk me through that kind of journey and what was going on in your life at that time with your health.
For sure. It changed my life. It was called ulcerative colitis. It's an autoimmune disease.
Okay.
Right, and I was late 20s, so I'm 40, nearly 42 now. So this is well over a decade ago.
Yep.
I was just about to have kids, and I had some real big issues with my stomach. Went and saw a doctor, and he explained to me it was ulcerative colitis, and basically said, there's nothing you can do about it. Just take these pills for the rest of your life. And for me, taking pills for the rest of my life was a real eye-opener. I'm like, pills for the rest of my life?
Yeah.
I'm in my 20s. Isn't there something I can do? He basically told me no. And luckily for me, intuitively, I just thought, well, no, that does not sound right.
That doesn't sound right.
I'm in the prime of my life. Like, there's something going on here. My body is, right back then, I knew my body was talking to me and communicating with me.
And at the time, were you were into all this stuff then? What were you doing for work? What was your lifestyle like back then?
My lifestyle was similar but very different. I've always been someone that enjoyed being outside and moving my body. I was very much into gym and things like that. But there was a lot of things that I did change, specifically around food. Back then, I ate everything and anything, and a lot of carbohydrates.
Yeah.
And then, I guess as this condition came about, it really awakened me to some things. And from there, it really opened or started a journey for me to learn more about myself, and something we'll probably talk a lot about is primal living. Is something that I'm very, very passionate about. Living more like our ancestors.
Yeah.
I really put up on a pedestal. I think about our ancestors, and when I say ancestors, the people that lived thousands and thousands of years ago. People might find heroes in sports stars or movie stars. My heroes are cavemen.
Yeah, okay.
Our ancestors.
And why specifically? Like, I'll give an example. The reason why I ask this question, because we'll have all sorts of different people that will listen to this podcast, and something that's popped into my head, because I'm a big fan of the primal living stuff, and I think it's important for each person to find their own path. But to play devil's advocate, someone might say, "Well, hold on a second. They didn't live very long. A lot of these people. Why would we want to live like them?" Do you think that if we look at their body, we go, "Wow, they were all fit, they were all healthy. We didn't have obesity. Nobody had depression. A lot of these things we don't have, but they didn't." Did they pass away in your mind? Like, what would you say to the people who have those types of thoughts?
Yeah, here's the thing about that, Scotty. Like, our ancestors actually lived very long, vital lives. The fact that they say they live younger is...
Died younger, you mean?
Died younger, is a fallacy, because back then in the wild, and like you look at wild animals today, it's a dangerous life. when you're born to when you're just a few years old, there's a very, very high chance you're going to die. So infant deaths was very, very high, way, way higher than today. So there's a heap of people dying between the age of 0 and 5 specifically. You look at there's actually a lot of research about this. So our ancestors lived long, vital lives, as in when they got to 60, 70, like you see humans today, they're very frail. They're starting to really decline. Whereas back then,
they were ripped.
They were fit. They were still climbing trees. They were hunting with the tribe or gathering with the tribe. And you go to the few hunter-gatherer tribes that exist today, like the Hutsa and some amazing African-based tribes. They go there and they live long, vital lives. So that fact that, you know, the idea of cavemen or our ancestors living or dying an early life is a fallacy. It's actually they live long lives. It's just...
You wouldn't think that the government and the history would be telling us any fallacies, would you, Cam? There wouldn't be any type of programming happening in to shift our beliefs so that we don't live a primal life. What do you think about that?
Mate, you and I know that the government has our absolute best hearts and mind, and everything they say should be taken as no.
That's why when you go, let's dive in deep straight away, right? I went vegan for a while. My story, I just went through my phone before, and I have photos of me. Well, I had let me rewind a second. I had a guest in Melbourne on, Dave Gilbert, who he had cancer, and he beat it, and he's a healthy guy, past business partner, and I worked with him as a contract for many years. We ended, had a fitness studio, and we were really talking. He said to me that he went to hospital because he had an ulcer, and I was sharing with him on the podcast that I also went to emergency room with horrible. I literally thought I've got cancer. Like, it felt like an alien was trying to gnaw its way through my stomach and break out of me. Like, I was having panic attacks every single day at work because I just was in so much discomfort and I felt like I couldn't go home because I had responsibilities, which is what a lot of men, was what Dave was sharing too, that feeling like I can't stop. Long story short, I ended up in hospital. And it was all based off diet. And after that, I went on a massive journey of health, and I didn't know that there was the full vegan push at that phase. And I don't necessarily believe that the vegan diet is the way to go, but at the time, definitely leaving the nightclubs. I quit DJing, even nightclubs, leaving the booze, leaving a lot of the sugar and the stuff that the veganism, obviously is a part of it. I did heal a lot of my gut issues. Now, was it the veganism, or was it the fact I just stopped eating a lot of shit? But the point that I was making is that I started doing a lot of research. That was the first time I really started going deep into gut health and all these types of things. And I watched, like, your Cowspiracies and your all of those. Do you remember when all of those kind of mockumentaries or documentaries kind of came out? And what was interesting was that one of the things that I found out is that in America, I'm sure the same thing happens in Australia, but obviously there's big pharma, right? And the Kellogg's, and there's only a short amount of companies that own pretty much all of the other companies, and so there's a narrative going on. They obviously give money to the politicians, and there's this whole big thing. The point that I was making is, in the Cancer Council's dietary requirements, they have stuff on there that's like, they had like processed ham as like a recommended, lunch. lunch meal, and then you go and you look behind what one of the sponsors were, and it was, sure enough, it was that, like, Ingham ham or one of the. So it's just like, okay, that was like the start for me of going, fuck, like, what the hell? And then, that was a long time ago now, and I've more lived towards, more so the primal way of living rather than the vegan way. But what was your, when did the penny drop for you that maybe, just maybe, that the government bodies didn't necessarily have your best interests at heart for health? You kind of spoke lightly about it before when you went to the doctor, and he's like, oh, okay, prescription, here you go, have this for the rest of your life, and that should heal you. Did he talk to you about diet? Did he talk to you about any primal living? Did he go through, like, the process maybe you and I would if we were looking at a client who had certain brain fog, depression, and like all of these types of symptoms? Like, walk me through your situation.
Well, I mean, the first thing I found with doctors, like, amazing, intelligent people that want the absolute best for you, but they go to medical school and they're taught how to
we're
prescribe.
not saying doctors are bad people.
Yeah. But so, yeah, this particular doctor, like I'm saying, of course not. He's taught how to not necessarily heal me, how to get me better and just cover up my symptoms by giving me pills. So absolutely, he did not talk to me about
they're
primal
medical
living.
people, not health people. So they're going to prescribe medical medication, not a health practitioner who's going to give you healthy advice to get to the symptom get to the source rather than the symptom. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember when this started happening, this ulcerative colitis, was coming on board, and I started learning and researching and sort of learning some things about, primal living.
Yep.
And I remember learning all these things about food and all these amazing things we can do with our body. And I was like, why isn't this preached to the masses? Why aren't we hearing this mainstream? Why is this not? Because I'm taking this information in, I'm telling everyone about it and going, did you know this? Did you know that?
That moment where you start figuring stuff out and you get so excited to tell everyone, and everyone's like, I don't want to fucking hear about it. What are you saying? That there's fluoride in the water and it's poisonous? No, that can't be true. You're a conspiracy theorist.
That's it. But, I was really puzzled as to why this information wasn't being shared. And then you asked the question before, it's like, when did you start to sort of realise that maybe some of these bigger entities don't have our best interest in hearts? And then obviously we've just been through, a few years ago now, COVID.
Yes.
And really have shown their hand, haven't they, like as to what they're all about. Follow the money trail, follow the...
Yes.
So all of a sudden now I've realised it's
a lot of people are waking up, aren't they?
Yes, absolutely. But
quick question, sorry to cut you off. You happy to say, were you pro jab? Did you jab? Did you not jab?
Definitely not jab. That's
a touchy topic, but if we're here to kind of keep it raw. And so my question post that is that the people that maybe judged you, maybe argued with you, if you maybe had some of those people in your life at the time, do you still speak to some of those people and what's their feeling now? Do they still think you're nuts? Because it's split apart families, that conversation. People really got abusive over that topic at the time. And online, I'm not sure if I'll have to bleep this out, the C word or something like that, but I'll have to do some research and find out if we're going to get our video taken down. But at the time, you couldn't say things like that.
That's right, yeah.
I mean, that to me is already scary. If you can't just simply talk about a subject, and there's taking down content, that's there's a reason for that.
Yeah, COVID has opened many of our eyes, hasn't it, to many things now. Just really answer that question back in the day as to why aren't they sharing this? Well, they don't want to share this. They don't want us to be healthy and vibrant because that ruins a lot of their business models.
So let's talk to that a little bit more for people who maybe are new to this type of thinking. Maybe they're like, that can't be. There's not. I even had a guy on the podcast last week. He's like, I don't believe there's a big group of elites and da da da. I'm thinking, well, I kind of do. I do believe that, and you can follow the money to look at that. But that what do you believe? Why? Obviously, if we go one layer deeper, like you said, there's business incentives of people. Healthy food, you don't make as much money off that. I buy organic. It's a bit more expensive, but it's not addictive, like say sugar is, or say alcohol is, or what do you think? What's the landscape? Like, what are your thoughts on the whole ecosystem of this big business and big pharma scenario?
Big pharma, big ag, all those companies.
What's big ag?
So big agriculture is all the people that grow all the grains. So grains is everything's grains, sugar, processed industrial oils. Most of our processed foods,
seed oils,
take those
three. That.
Seed oil. So that's the three things. Absolutely, I've learned.
And they're cheap and they're crap, but they're highest profitabilities.
You've got to avoid them. Absolutely, yeah. There's a lot of money in that.
Yeah, if you grow an apple, you can let's say the profit margin on increasing that apple by the time you do the trucking versus you get something that's synthetic and processed and just the lowest quality thing, the margins are much bigger. So even a lot of people go into business, they start out with a decent idea. Even like I don't know if you've watched that Big Vape or something on the documentary on vaping.
Haven't seen that.
The guys basically started out by saying, hey, yeah, we want to help people quit smoking by, vaping's not as bad. But then they got a little bit excited. They put a marketing campaign. Then it just became its own. It ended up being nothing to do with quitting smoking and just a marketing ploy to get people to vape. And then people who didn't smoke before, kids, teenagers, adults, and they ended up getting, I think, sued and whatever, because it was like they basically just modeled old school big tobacco, which made it a lifestyle thing. Like, it was cool to vape, and they made the vapes look cool. And so I think sometimes a bit like you go in trying to do it for a good reason, but then money. It just gets, we've got expenses, we've got costs, and then people get excited. Do you think that there are evil people out there that want to hurt people, or do you believe that it's just people maybe start out with the right intentions and then ego gets the better of them, and then they've got responsibilities, and then it just slowly, do you think it's like a bit like the frog in the pot situation, and then it's too far to go back? Like, what do you think about that?
I think so. I think it's big business. Like, I mean, it's hard to comprehend that there's a few evil people around. Like, maybe, I don't know, I'm not going to really speak to that, but, big business, like, money talks, baby. So, you take my example. The doctor is taught how to prescribe a pill, and he tries to give me a pill and give me a pill for the rest of my life. Yes. I become a good customer and spend my whole life forking out money and having that pill for the rest of my life.
Imagine, let's say a pill costs, so it's $50 per packet, and you've got to go through a packet every fortnight. It's $100 a month, $1,200 a year. You do that for the next 50 years, and you do that to every single person. All right. Hope you're enjoying the podcast thus far. Just want to take a moment of your time to ask that in exchange for this amazing value and guests and hopefully some entertainment too, if you guys have liked it so far and you want to see more, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel. At the end of the day, you can continue just to watch and all those type of things, but it does actually have an enormous impact on the level and quality of guests that I can have. And that just means better interviews for you guys. And it also means more impact in the world. The more men that can come across this channel and see this information and see the types of topics, the things that we're talking about, that can change another man's life. So if you've got value, pass it on. Pass on that value by hitting the subscribe button. With that said, guys, let's get back to the episode. Bye for now. So yeah, I don't necessarily believe that there are evil people at the top that are trying to, I just more so believe that there are people that have to be the garbage man, and there are people that have to be the school shit people, and there were people that, and when we keep people kind of numbed and programmed, and the best way to do that is by eating lower quality foods and by watching sports, and I'm not against that, but basically distracting people with things rather than being out in nature and stuff like that. Booze, food. I don't think it's like evil people trying to hurt people. Like you said, I think it just all comes back to business. And I'm all pro making money, but I think like our company is called the Conscious Entrepreneur Group. So the point is to be to try to do the work on yourself, which we'll talk a bit about as well, because it can be hard to know the difference between when I'm being a great man or when I'm, which is, what that discernment inside yourself. So going back to your journey of the health stuff, walk me through. You said before you got this diagnosis. You prescribed these pills. You're thinking to yourself, this can't be right. You've told him I'm going to go and work on my health, or what? Walk me through that next kind of phase.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't say much to him at the time. I just went away and started doing my own research.
Gotcha.
I knew I didn't want to be on a pill for the rest of my life. From there, the first thing I really discovered was food.
Yes.
Like I remember Don Tolman, who is actually a vegetarian. I don't know if you've heard Don Tolman before. No. But he started talking, not that I wanted to go vegetarian. I've never been vegetarian, but he started talking about foods and how foods can heal. Medicine. And this blew my mind. And I started going, wow, this could really help me. And from there, the actual start of it was a girl called Sarah, the sugar lady. The sugar-free lady. Anyway, she does this thing where you do a sugar-free diet for 30 days, I think it was, leading up to Christmas. Me and my wife did this. And that 30-day sugar-free little diet or section has never stopped. From there, I saw such great results. And
which were what? What sort of results? Because a lot of people are addicted to sugar. I've been that way. So what were the results that people who are watching could expect from 30 days of no sugar?
It's just, for one, the symptoms of this ulcerative colitis went away straight up.
Yeah.
And
So the thing you were supposed to be prescribed on for the rest of your life, 30 days of no sugar, it got rid of, 99% of the symptoms?
It just went. Yep.
Just sugar alone? You didn't any other...
Oh, well, I cleaned up a lot of things. I think I got rid of gluten.
Yes.
I got rid of sugar.
Yes.
And that was probably it. Gluten and sugar.
Gluten's a huge one. I can't eat. Gluten makes me feel terrible.
Yeah, I don't touch gluten, so...
Yeah. Okay, so you did gluten and sugar, and so you went from what were the symptoms of this ulcer thing that you had?
Ulcerative colitis. So the symptoms were basically your digestive system just feels messed up. You're pooing blood. Oh, everyone's probably different, but me individually, pooing blood, you feel like you want to go to the toilet all the time. It's quite difficult because, you're in a public setting and all of a sudden you're like, I feel like
crap my pants.
Yeah, it's
Where's the nearest public toilet?
It's not a nice feeling, and I remember I used to plan my life. Like I went out with some mates to a football game, and I was concerned.
Sit near the closest toilet.
Yeah, and I remember I needed to go, and you just always have a little plan of where there's a toilet nearby.
Wow.
It was, it's not a nice feeling, and it's a tough one. But so I knew in myself that I wanted to do everything I could to overcome this, and it did go away. But after about 18 months or so, it came back, and it came back with revengeance. Because by this stage, I hadn't done a lot of change. I just got rid of gluten and a few little things, nothing major. I was still eating quite a variety of foods, still a little bit of gluten and things like that, but it came back with a vengeance. And because I was going through this health journey, I was just like, I was going to reject medicine altogether. And I didn't take any medicine this time. And as a result, I deteriorated and got put in hospital because it got to the stage where I was just like lethargic. I was on the couch. I could not move. I was not working. I'd lost 10, 15 kilos. I was looking really gaunt and frail and looked terrible because this ulcerative colitis was just eating me up from the inside. So when the hospital, the doctor basically said, if you don't do something soon, we're going to have to remove part of your bowel.
Wow.
So that was a real eye-opener. And from there, I took it really, really seriously. I said, I'm not going to be on a medicine for the rest of my life. I took some medicine to mask that short-term symptoms just to get myself back to a place where I could just at least function.
Do some stuff,
Yeah. But I just remember sitting on the bed thinking about our ancestors. And this is where the primal living coming. Dead set, it's like a fruition, a meditation. I don't know.
Intuitively, something like you weren't researching it up until that point?
I wasn't researching, but I remember sitting on my hospital bed saying, you know what? Our ancestors...
You just intuitively started pondering some sort of idea.
Yeah, our ancestors, I was thinking of cave people. I was imagining these people, hanging out in their cave and hunting and gathering, like proper, thousands of years ago. I'm like, they wouldn't have had stuff like this. They weren't sick. They were, talking of the men podcast, they were vital, healthy, strong men.
If you look at any photo of like those times, they're all ripped. Like there's not an ounce of fat on them.
They're lean and they're ripped. They're amazing. Look amazing. Even, I was in here's a little thing for you. I was in an elevator the other day in a Maroochydore hotel.
Yep.
And there was a picture of the Maroochydore beach. And I actually went home and Googled or tried to find this picture because I want to know the date, the year. It was the 1950s. And it was at Maroochydore, just near the cod hole there. And every single person in this photo, there was men and women, boys and girls, and there would have been, because they were jumping in the water, so they didn't have much on, and there would have been 30 or so people, and every single person was lean and ripped.
Six pack.
And I imagine, like, you taking that same photo here today, it looked very different. It looked very different. So even just, what's that, 1950, that's 70 years ago.
And so it's one of those things where if you just take that snapshot, of course, we will talk about what primal living is and the types of foods you eat and how people can integrate that into their lives, because I know that's a big part that when we were working together discussing, okay, cool, there's the knowledge piece, then there's the integration or the action piece of how to fit this into people's lifestyles and stuff like that. And what's cool is like you've got lots of different recipes and different fun ways so that you don't really feel like it's just boring. So we'll talk about that, but what do you think, and we touched on a little bit before about big business and things like that, but how do we get here? How, in your opinion, so that's your journey. You healed yourself with food. We've established that. We'll go into how you did that, in a bit more detail. Obviously, we know it's less gluten, less things like that. But how do you think that we've ended up here, where we are now, and who's responsible? Is it the parents? Is it the governments? Like how do we leave from this place? How do we make a change? How do we make men and all people, women, children, how do we make society great again?
Yeah, I think the answer is we just got to look at ourselves. Like, ultimately what caused this? I have no idea. Maybe it's the government, maybe it's big business, but I think about myself and what the individual can do and how they can empower their community and their groups.
Yes, because you're not going to be able to just go and change a bill, but you can make better choices yourself, and it probably starts with just this awareness, doesn't it?
Yeah, and just I know our health journey alone, me and my wife are very, very passionate about this. And as a result of this, people within our networks, our close family, even friends that aren't so close have seen a lot of what we do, and as a result, they want to know more or do more within themselves. Yep. And even just COVID came along, you talked about the jab before. Me and my wife knew that we didn't want to take it because we had no idea what was in this jab. And it was like, well, our health really matters. Like, health is number one. So therefore, we're not going to be forced into a corner where we have to take the jab to be able to do our whatever.
And that meant some serious ramifications for you business-wise, didn't it? Because you were actually working with schools.
Yeah,
with your programs. So that they literally said to you can't come here anymore, didn't they? And you had good relationships with them, didn't you?
Yeah, it happened overnight. I had $50,000 worth of contracts set, ready to go for the Christmas holidays. We're doing our Juiced Up Groms programs, and it wasn't the school's fault. They were basically told that they could not have us. So overnight, I had to cancel $50,000 of contracts.
Wow.
My wife, who was a paramedic or ambulance officer, she was told that have the jab now or you don't work. And she chose not to work. So both of us, in the space of a few weeks, our lives are turned upside down. Both of us, our livelihoods, or not our income, our businesses, as Sarah, my wife, as an employee, and then myself as a business owner, we were basically, shut down overnight.
But it was important enough for you guys, your health, it meant that much to you that you were willing to do that.
Absolutely. It was not something that we, for a second guess. Like, people say, oh, wow, how'd you feel? How could you do that? Like,
it was something that I second guessed a lot, and I'll admit I did get one jab, and I buckled. If I could go back, I wouldn't have got it personally, because I did have a lot of heart tension, and I wasn't right for months.
Yeah, wow.
I did not feel good for months after that. I had a lot of I felt like somebody was literally stomping on my chest. I actually thought that I had anxiety, and I'm thinking, fuck, I've done so much work. I haven't had anxiety in such a long time. I do my meditation, I do these other things. It just felt like my heart was in in one of those vices and was just getting crushed. It was fucking horrible, to be honest.
Nasty.
And to be honest, I did get COVID, and that wasn't, it was a cold. It wasn't, I've been a lot sicker than that. Some might say, well, you could have been even more sick had you not have had the jab. That's a plausible argument as well. I don't know, won't know. But yeah, I think there were some people, I know some others who didn't do it, and a lot of other people who just was very pro and did it. And then there was people more like fit into the camp like me, where kind of didn't want to do it, but felt like, my wife's Italian, and I thought, we're not going to be able to go back to Italy. We're not, like, this could be going for years. I've got my business. It was just like, I held out for as long as I possibly could, and then obviously did it. But when they started saying, "Oh, you can do it a second time, you can do it every couple of months," it's like, I'm not like, no, that's. And then things are at where it's at now. So you guys obviously, you're intelligent people. You're not, you're smart. Your wife even works in the medical industry, in a sense.
She does.
So you guys took a stand, and you live like that. And if I go back to what I was sharing before, it was more about like what can we do about it? And your answer is it takes an individual approach. Here's something I want to add. For me, I've been in the health industry as a personal trainer and as a coach since I was 21. I was into it before that because I was like, it was more like for looks. I was chubby. I was the chubby kid, who wore the t-shirt in the pool, that guy. And 21, I mean, I'm 6-pack, ripped as shit. And so it was all about looks initially until I started to get unwell from pushing myself too much and go. I kind of would go. I'm ADHD, and I find that it's not an excuse, but it lends itself to kind of high uses of dopamine and then massive crashes. And it's in those crashes that it almost feels impossible not to grab for some sugar. I have when I've had either like certain sports that I've been doing or when I was doing modeling, and I had like a massive reason why I just felt like I absolutely couldn't reach for the sugar. I've been able to have that discipline. For a lot of people, if we were to create some transformation people, because obviously there's the education piece, like I said, I want to go into that. But for a lot of people, they feel like stress, we use sugar and we use certain snacks and unhealthy foods. Even myself, more recently, I've gotten a bit more slack. What do you think is the coaching piece around like being able to take that information? So someone says, I don't want to eat, I want to lose weight, I want to be healthy. They leave this podcast, like, yeah, I want to do it. What do you think is the defining thing for people, in your opinion, doing this work that you've found that separates someone who actually makes a transformation and somebody who just thinks about making a transformation, wants the results, wants to have that vitality that you talk about, wants to have that body or be a good example for their children? What, in your opinion, makes the difference?
It's definitely your perspective. I think a lot, and I was only thinking about this a day ago with some of my clients, their kids, and it's applicable to all areas of life, whether you have a short-term or a long-term perspective. Yes. So when you go back to the lack of COVID injection for us.
Yeah.
People were like, how can you throw away $50,000 of contracts? How can Sarah throw up a high-paying job? It's just like our perspective was we want health and vitality for a long, long time. So in the short-term perspective, yes, we're going to have to give up a lot. But in the long-term perspective, we gain so much more. So it's the same if you're trying to make a change. It's like if there's a piece of cake in front of me, it's full of gluten and a few different things. Yeah, it looks really tasty. In the short-term perspective,
I'm going to feel good.
I want to smash that. But in the long-term perspective, I know if I don't have that, I'm going to feel so much better. And then apply it to, I was just thinking about this for my clients the other day. Like I've got one particular client, I think he's 10 years old. He gets really, really angry, really, really frustrated if he does anything wrong. Like we were playing soccer, he kicked the soccer goal, missed, and got really, really angry. And I'm like, we can sit down. I'm going to talk to him about short-term and long-term perspective.
Yes.
In the short term, because I know he doesn't want to get angry and frustrated.
Yes.
You go a few minutes later on, he wishes he didn't get angry.
Yes.
All right. Maybe same thing as a parent. You get up a child, or you get angry at a child. In the short term, you feel like you release
emotions,
something.
Yeah.
But the long term, you're like, man, I wish I didn't act like that to my child. So same with this child. It's like in the short term, you want to react.
Yeah.
But if you learn to somehow have a longer term perspective, just have something go through your mind at the time to say, look, let's just take a second to really feel this and realize it is just emotion in the very short term. In the longer term, you're going to be so much better off for it because you're not going to react in that instant. So It's the same with the health journey, or same with the COVID jab. It's just like always try to look things in a longer term perspective.
From I agree with that 100%, and something that I use, different language, but I call it zooming in versus zooming out. Zooming in's like you're feeling all of this emotion right now. It's very, very like visceral in this present moment. But if you zoom out, you can kind of have more of a bird's eye view of the situation and the impacts of like what you do today, how it's going to affect all those other things, whether that be in business, in your relationship. I find that concept, whether it's short term, long term, zoom in, zoom out, it lends itself to every success in every area. You have to, it's the pain versus, a little bit like the pain versus today versus the pain versus tomorrow. If you do the easy things today, it's typically harder later on. If you do the harder things today, it's typically easier later on. So these things, I call them success principles. They're pretty much like they apply to most things. Only thing I will say, obviously I've been a coach for a very long time as well. if I share this with people, or if you share this with people, I think a lot of it can come back to the fact about how stressed that they are. So you seem like a very grounded person. You put your feet on the earth. You do those things. So people who are hyper stimulated by either like or stressed or in that kind of more stressed out state, it lends itself to struggling to be able to look at the further. It's just like it's a survival. When we're in that stress response, we're in more of that survival energy, and it feels like I've felt like that before. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't, where you can't think long term. You can't think short term in that moment until we do some form of a breathing activity or something to be able to just regulate the nervous system from being, a completely fight or flight response. So it's like that slowing down prior. Are you someone who's always been like chilled and kind of a very like a more of a grounded type of dude? And how effective have you found this to be with people or kids that maybe are more ADHD or these types of things? Do you even believe in ADHD? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I mean, I work with kids.
Yeah.
Our market is ADHD, ASD. And to answer your question straight up, do I believe in it? It's like I think we live in a society that is prone to a lot more stress, a lot more going on. You go back to the
it's the stimulation.
Yes. So boys, because we work specifically with boys that are 6 to 15 years old, and I look at boys in a classroom, shoes on a concrete floor, told to sit in a little box, and then if they
told to sit still, shut up, wait still. Till you, and they're full of energy.
Yeah, and if they don't, well, then all of a sudden they've got this condition, which yes, maybe they do, but what I'm saying is, let them thrive in the way they want to thrive.
Yes.
Like, you say you've got ASD and ADHD, but, you're older now and you can do the things where you're happy and you're thriving. You can really put that to good use. So it becomes a good use.
100%. There are benefits and drawbacks. The benefits are look at the room that we're in. I sat down and went down a rabbit hole for 1 month straight and created all of this out of nothing. So, when I get interested in something, I'm going to learn the shit out of that thing. And I'm going to become like, I could write a thesis on it, like at Harvard, type of thing, where, I've learned a lot of people don't have that. They're not like that, like me. But if I'm not interested in something, then, if we look at the neurodivergency kind of model, it's just like neuro, that's the brain, divergent, it's different. Everyone's different. I don't think it's wrong or right. There are some benefits to ADHD. Definitely a regular school model isn't ideal. I would say that a lot of the anxiety and tension that as an adult I probably felt was because when I probably was neurodivergent as a child, that I thought differently, that I wasn't able to express that, to your point, and then it gets trapped. I don't know if you know Gabor, I think Mattei, I can't remember how his name's pronounced, but he's he says that ADHD also comes from being in a stressful environment as a child. And so a lot of the symptoms where you can't focus are their coping strategies from being in a stressful environment. So certainly things that all of the primal stuff that you're promoting, whether you believe in ADHD, whether in a school, grounding and doing all the primal, like not having sugar, grounding your feet, doing breathing, all of these things allow, like even I was telling to Ellis, when we're in Melbourne, loved being in Melbourne, city life, fantastic. But for both of us, being neurodivergent, being up here is just so much more grounding. Nature behind the house, less smog in the air, grass that we can walk on, less tooting horns and traffic and trams, just stimulation for the nervous system. So, so you work with these kids and you're doing coaching with them. It's like health and fitness. What's the end result that you're looking, to get with these kids, or that the parents are looking, or the kids are wanting out of it?
Yeah, I mean, so you take the kids of today.
Yeah,
I absolutely love and adore kids, and they're our future.
That's why you're on here.
Yeah,
because I really think that you're an amazing father and leader in this definitely space, and I think just hearing your perceptions and things like that will really help. So I cut you off there, but love it.
Oh, thanks, Scotty. And I mean, these kids, I look at kids of today, at times they seem so distracted. Some of them are overweight, some of them are very overweight, always on the screens and really immersed in what seems like a very fake world, or a world that's manipulated in a lot of ways. So, we take these boys, we help these boys, work with these boys, specifically, 6 to 15-year-olds, and through movement, through nutrition, through mentorship, we help these guys. So the end goal is to really help them, because when we started this off, it was very much about movement, like physicality.
Yeah, you're running sporting things.
Yeah, and that's when people come and see us from the outside, that looks like that's all that's going on. But what I've found myself and where we're really getting the results is now, because it's so much more. It's community and social skills, because they're interacting with their peers, they're interacting with us, the coaches, they're interacting with all sorts of people.
You're showing them what a healthy masculine man looks like, aren't you?
Exactly.
Like monkeys, you could teach them many things, but really how you guys show up, you're teaching them everything.
The amount of parents...
They'll look up to you.
Yeah, our avatar is the mums and dads, but our clients are the kids. And the amount of parents that say to us when we're having sort of an onboarding call, or just our initial sort of sales call, finding out more about us, is I just want a male figure in their life that's going to teach them about moving, social, eating, community, all that sort of thing. So it's like, yes, it's movement, but like we're really about immersing them in community and developing social skills, developing confidence and self-belief.
So good.
Yeah. So since...
sorry, you continue.
We started off very broad. As Juiced Up Groms, we started off with basically a very broad market, like anyone, everyone. We're starting to really niche down to a specific age, and obviously, like I said, it's more male and boy based now. And as we start to really niche down, we find these people become so much more responsive to what we have to offer. So they're really taking on board the things that we talk to them, specifically about movement, nutrition, around the mentorship thing, and the primal skills.
Yeah.
And as a result, like that, we're seeing
what sorts of
results.
stuff? Yeah, talk to. I'm like so like present with what you're saying right now, especially being a father, not to a girl at the moment, but hopefully a boy next. We'll see what happens. Don't have a magic wand, but so talk to me. So, what sorts of events do you run? What does it look like? What's the things you said, nutrition, this and that, but like, what are you teaching them how to cook? Are you teaching them recipes? Are you taking them away for the weekends? I know you've got some sort of event where you're doing taking them out into the bush. So talk to me about what is it you're doing with them through this mentoring process, because maybe there are some people at home that might want their kids to come see. Maybe there are some fathers who are watching this and like, fuck, I want to be that leader for my son. I want to be that father. I can learn some things off camp. So what are some specific things that you do with them that listeners at home could start to practice themselves?
Yeah, well, we've got two main things that are going on within Juiced Up Groms. Our main program is our 10-week program with the kids. So this is movement, nutrition, mentoring. So we're doing a program or a weekly session with them where we're doing the games and movement. Yep, it's face-to-face. We're interacting. We're doing games, dodgeball, t-ball, tug-of-war, like a lot of these old-school games, but it's in very small groups. And what's important is, yes, we're doing movement, but we're interacting with the kids. Peers are interacting with peers, and
so
they're developing social skills. They're interacting with their community. Like a lot of these parents want their kids just to engage with other peers, engage in community, and they want them to really enjoy doing physicality and
have
movement,
a positive relationship with it.
Yep. And before we do the movement, we actually do some nutrition with the kids. So in the past, I've done a lot of school shows where we talk about nutrition.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they don't really get it if all you're going to do is talk about it. So now I'm like, let's just not talk about it. Let's actually bring it to life. So before we do the sessions, we make
raw
stuff.
liver.
Not yet.
But yes, weren't you going to bring some for us today?
Yeah, it's in the esky.
Oh, he's got it. He's got it in the esky. We need to do that on the on the actual show. You'll have to run out and grab it.
For sure, we can do that. Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, so far we've done smoothies, we've done pancakes, and when I say pancakes, we're not doing a shake and bake or gluten or anything like that.
You're not talking about rubbish, the plastic ones on the shelves.
No, we're mashing banana, we're adding eggs, we're topping it with beautiful full cream and honey and berries and things like that. Last week we made pizzas. So again, the pizzas.
But what's the base? Let's just quickly walk through a couple of these things so we can give people maybe even once we post this video, if you've got some recipes, or I know you've got a whole bunch of like stuff, if anything you can give away for free, I'll link it below this video so you guys can either follow along with Cam's stuff because he shares a lot about this primal living online. You can also he's probably got some recipes like healthy pancake stuff, so that when you're not having like I've even asked you for recipes before as well when we were working together, which is awesome. So you've got gluten-free pancakes. What's in that? What's in the base of the pancake?
A pancake is just a mashed banana, 2 eggs, whisk it up, or you can even put it in a blender. So
you don't need self-raising flour, you don't need all that shit?
No. You put that in a pan, you cook it, flip it each side, minute each side. It comes out like a beautiful pancake. My 6-year-old, now 7-year-old son has it every morning. So he's getting eggs, he's getting banana.
Pancakes every day, amazing.
Yeah, he's topping it with fresh cream, berries, honey. This is primal ingredients. This is stuff that's really good for you.
Wow, okay, so give us another one. So that's your pancakes. What was the other one you said?
Would you like
pizza?
Would you like a wrap, Scotty?
Love a wrap.
So wraps, you got your typical wrap from the shop, full of gluten, full of vegetable oils, full of preservatives, full of colours.
So like those Helga's wraps in the thing. What if it says gluten-free?
Gluten-free, it's still got vegetable oils in it. It's still got inflammatory grains. So if it's gluten-free, it's made from sorghum or rice flour. It's still inflammatory to the body.
Gotcha.
Okay, because we're not designed to live on grains. So you don't want those wraps from the shop. They're going to cause inflammation.
They're shit house. Don't buy them for your kids. Don't eat them yourself.
Preservatives, colours, all those things in them, absolutely known to cause all these problems that we know.
All of the inflammatory stuff, which then the cells inflame. Then we start to get digestion issues, brain fog, and can even lead to cancer.
Yep, lead to cancer, or in my case, it was ulcerative colitis.
Yeah.
So you want a nice, I call it the primal wrap. Again, you get 2 eggs, mix them up. You add a handful of grated cheese. Throw that in, mix it up. So you got egg and cheese, and that's it. You put it in a pan, spread it out.
What is it? So cheese and
eggs.
Cheese and eggs.
And then you cook it.
So it makes almost like the cheese makes the omelette stick. It's like an egg omelette makes it stick together.
Yeah, but you want to get it thin so it's not too eggy. So if it's thin enough, then you can put your toppings on it, flip it over. I have one just about every day.
So it's an egg. That sounds awesome.
Or you do the same, so eggs, cheese. You do the same thing, spread it out even thinner, cook it lightly, so it's not too coloured, and then you roll it up, slice, so you got fettuccine.
What?
And then to that you add bacon, ham, bit of meat, and you've got a lovely carbonara. Gluten-free, primal carbonara.
There you go. You need your own. We probably have to chat off camera. We need to do a cookbook together or something. Yeah. We've actually, and you got any more recipes just before we move on to the next topic?
So the pizza base. Yeah,
what's pizza base?
The pizza was the same thing. It was egg and cheese. So
a lot of the bases, whether it's pancakes, pasta, what else did you say?
Pancakes, pasta, and the wrap.
The wrap, and so mostly egg and cheese is the way to go for that, for people to remember.
Yeah, eggs is a big part of it.
So you just do eggs, beat them up like you're going to do like you're going to do an omelette or something.
Yeah, it's all beaten up. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So there's so primal living. Describe that to us in your 30-second pitch.
Primal living is just living the way that we should live, the way we used to live.
Food. Sorry, I mean not primal foods.
Oh, primal foods.
So what's like, for instance, no gluten, no this. If you were to look at it as a diet. Yeah. Which it's not. It's a way of living.
Yep.
But if you look at it like a diet, what are the no's? What are the yeses? The key core things.
The first thing and foremost is I prioritise meat and, if you want to, organs.
Yep. So, and it's any meat or organs, or you're talking about grass-fed organic is the quality matter, I imagine?
I mean, it does matter, but you don't want to let that limit you. If it comes down to your budget and what's available. But if you can get grass-fed, like as much as back to nature or normal as possible. So you think about our ancestors. Of course, they only ever ate grass-fed organic because that's all there was around.
Yeah.
And so, me personally, I get my meat straight from the farmer. So I prioritise meat and organs, and I'm very careful to say no to things that are inflammatory, like the grains, the industrial oils, refined or added sugar.
Yeah, and you can almost assume the oils and the sugar are in all of the products that are on a shelf in a supermarket. Would that be the easiest way to think about it?
Absolutely. If it comes in a packet, if it's got a shelf life,
you
don't want to eat it because that's not normal.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
Food shouldn't have a shelf life. Food, after a few days should start to
Should go off. That's how you know it's alive, because it's going to die.
Yeah.
As opposed to something that says, oh, okay, yeah, it's going to die next year.
Like you see something that doesn't go off until 12 months later, it's just like what is in that food and what's going to go into your stomach to make it like that.
I just want to quickly touch on something that just popped up as you were talking. When I've been my absolute healthiest, this is what I've done. And I've actually just been thinking about doing it again recently, because I just fell back into I'm living, my life is very easy right now. I'm just having lots of fun and I'm enjoying being in the Sunshine Coast. And I just gotten a little bit slack on some things. So when I have ever wanted to make a change and I'm noticing myself resisting that change, obviously our brains, we've got pleasure and pain, and pain's 9 times more motivating than pleasure. So when I used to smoke, believe it or not, many, many years ago, like, I don't know, I'm 37 in a couple of months, so I'm talking 15 years ago. And when I quit smoking, I researched, it might be a bit of a trigger warning here for anyone who smokes, but I researched cancer. I looked at pictures of what lungs and hearts look like, because I wanted to see the cost of inaction. So I fast forwarded to, if I don't make a change, what are my lungs going to look like in a 6 months' time, 10 years' time? What's my age? What's my face going to look like? My teeth, my skin, my eyes. And same thing with food. Maybe people aren't at the stage yet where they've got cancer, or they've got this, maybe they're little bit chubby around the edges, they're a little bit overweight, but we're trying to get them to make transformation before they end up in a nasty position. So as you were saying that, I was just thinking, in the same way that you're looking at the shelf life, and you're looking at cake, if it's going to last this long, then it's unhealthy. I think in the same way you can think about like your food, and if you're struggling to make a change in that area, think about obviously the benefits. I'll be more vital, all the pleasure type things, but on what's the cost of inaction if I don't do this? What age am I going to live to? If you start researching a lot of these seed oils and a lot of these nasties that are in food, it gets quite scary when you look at the side effects of them, and not to scare the shit out of everyone, but sometimes pain can be a little bit more motivating than pleasure. So, all right, so you got the food stuff. You've got this 10-week program. Talk to me a little bit about the types of mentoring, because I think this is so important. And it's interesting that, like, do you think if you were to speak to, and, to not put any negatively on any of these families, they're doing the best that they can. Well done on them for noticing that there might be a slight gap in the mentorship from the masculine in that family suit at the moment. What's going on though? Are they single mothers? Are they like with the father is no longer home, or is it the father's working all the time, or is it that he's not too sporty? Why are these young boys, which is obviously amazing because you've now got this place for them to come, but why, in your opinion or in your experience, are they needing to come to you?
Yeah, I mean, Scotty, it's like, it's not necessarily that there's no fathers or anything like that. It's just these people live such busy lives.
Yes.
And I look at myself and I go, work or business has got very, very busy for me. And then all of a sudden, as a result, I look at my own kids and go, mate, I might not be fishing or doing enough things with them. And I'm very, very
You're doing
aware.
With the other kids and not with them.
Yeah. So it's
like the plumber who's not changing his own pipes.
That's it. I'm very, very aware of that. And like today, like I don't have any sessions on this afternoon, like most days we do. So I dropped my son off at school and I said, like this afternoon when we get home, I'll be home. So let's go fishing. And he's like, just lights up. I was like, he just loves to fish. He just loves going outside and doing stuff like that. So he's like, yeah, absolutely. I just know that's just going to make his day. So, it's not that they're missing anyone from home, or it's not that they're not trying their best. It's just, I think life today is just so busy. Like, again, you give it the ancestor test. It's like our ancestors, we weren't designed to just squeeze every single second out of the day and be working and frantic and doing all these things. We're meant to chill, relax, create community.
We're meant
have
to do some work, and we're meant to get some stuff done, but we're also, we're meant to spend time in brotherhood as men. We're meant to go out fishing and camping and things like that, which, by the way, I'm not the most, I'm more of a city slicker than I am that guy, but definitely something I've noticed is definitely even just spending time with my mates, forget where it is. That's so important. And a lot of men don't end up doing that again, just like with the kids, where they just get we just get too busy.
Yeah.
And get too busy doing life that we forget to be ourselves, be fathers, be husbands, be friends even.
Yeah. Community, I think, is just about the number one thing to health. Like you think about, again, the ancestors, they had community. You even look today, you look at the blue zones or any of these areas where people live a long life.
Yeah, I was watching that documentary, the Blue Zones thing. One of the pieces was the community.
Yeah, and like they'll say all sorts of different things, but yeah, I mean, they're eating whole organic foods. Yes, that's very important, but it doesn't really matter what they're eating. It's what really matters is that they've got each other and they really thrive around each other. They got community, they got friendship,
which is why you were talking about the social skills before, because you might have the community, but you might not how to connect with them. Step one is to find a community, because a lot of people feel like they can't be themselves, or they don't connect with people, or they don't have the social skills to connect with people. And so you guys are providing this kind of space to do all three: the connection, the fitness, the obviously the movement. And so talk to me, what sort of results, are there any transformations that you've seen of like kids and their families, and walk me through that a little bit?
Yeah, well, okay, there's two boys I'm thinking of specifically. One boy, he's 10 years old. He is an amazing kid, and here's the thing: he comes home, his mum is saying, "I can't do this, I can't do that," because he knows he has ASD.
Yeah.
Okay, and he's really starting to lean into that. His mum was saying, "How? Oh, I can't do that because I've got ASD brain,
yes.
Mum." So, and I see this kid, and like, he has got some amazing qualities. He has the biggest smile on his face every time he comes to the group, because it's small groups. He just makes everyone feel so much happier and brighter because he has this lovely, amazing energy about him. Okay. So I said to the mum, I said, like most of us do, we start to focus on the things that we don't feel so strong at. There's all these amazing things that we're brilliant at. We've all got our strengths. We've also got our weaknesses.
Yeah.
But society this day, we tend to focus on our weakness. I know I might do it at the end of the day, and won't focus on what you did great so well. It's like, oh, what could have I done better?
Yes.
So I see this child, focusing on these things that, I can't do this because I've got ASD brain. And then I say to her, man, he's just such this amazing, brilliant kid that just makes everyone else feel so happy. And I know as he gets older, this is going to be such a strength for him.
Yes.
So we're very deliberate about sending him messages, because we got these message groups. We use, what's it called? Just a message group where we can personally send them.
WhatsApp or something like that.
I think, WhatsApp, where we can send them audios or videos. And after every session, it's like he gets a message, and all the clients do, but I've seen how it's really impacted his life. So he gets a message saying it how, we're so glad to have you a part of this program. Every time you walk in, the other kids smile, you make everyone else feel
Just give
so
him a compliment.
Yeah. And so now all of a sudden he's starting to focus on these things that he's doing really well, as opposed to things that he feels he's not doing so well at. And his mum said he's just so much happier and brighter at home, and his attitude towards life and just doing things in general is really picked up. He's taken a lot more responsibility, and he's just growing as a person because someone's taken time to say, this is the things he's actually doing really well. Like, he was always doing it well, but someone's just made him very much aware of it.
Yeah. Dude, that's so awesome to hear. I've been asking guys, obviously I shot 7 podcasts last week, and I've been asking, what do we need to do to make men great again? And I get the responses, of course, we need to do this, we need to do that. But then 2 people also said what we need to do is help the next generation. Because, of course, as men, we've got to step up and do our part, in terms of being the best father, husband, as you said at the start of the podcast, being the best version of yourself. And, of course, that then shows the next generation. So, but you're taking it a full step further, and you've got a whole business model and a whole, program around going in and saying, okay, cool, I acknowledge that it takes each individual to do their part, but this is something that I'm passionate about, I love, and I'm good at. From where I've seen, you're very good at it. And so you take it under your own initiative to really go into a section of the youth and really do your part, which is absolutely amazing to see.
Thank you.
So where do you guys are running these events? Like, if people are around other parts of Australia, like, what's your advice? Let's say there's a dad at home. You've given us some tips on some recipes. Like I said, I'll kind of drop those below if any other links that Cam thinks is worthwhile me sharing for you guys to kind of understand a little bit more about health and primal living and all these types of things. But if there are parents or fathers watching, what are your top tips in order to, let's say, we'll talk about some symptoms that some kids normally have, like maybe they're a bit more withdrawn, maybe they're lacking some confidence, maybe they're a little bit overweight, they're on their screens all the time. That's like your typical clientele. Would that be about right?
Yeah, sure.
So let's say they've got kids like that and the parents are just not, they're struggling to connect with them or they're struggling to make some changes. What are the types of tips that you would give them in order to shift things for their kid? Because the cost of inaction of not doing that is that their kid's really going to find it much more challenging to go through life. I think you're kind of starting from behind the eight ball. I don't know what the right terminology is there, but what are some tips that or some advice that you would give to the parents that are watching this that don't want their kids to thrive, essentially, in your word?
You got to really start to sow into those kids. So, like I said before, like I used to think it was all about getting them to move more because that's where we started. But I realised there's a step before that where you got to really start to build their confidence and self-belief. So that's why when you just find anything to just really relate and focus on with the child and really build them up around that. Like we go over the top to build these kids up. Like I am sending them messages after every session and then multiple times throughout the week as well.
So if you relate that back to a parent, give us an example of how a parent could do that. It's noticing the things that they're doing well.
Yeah.
And then really, instead of calling them out on the negative things, I'd pick up your towel is constantly like looking for opportunities to, if you can imagine like a scale, to have more positive things than negative things.
Yeah.
And really champion those positive things. If you see them doing anything good, really make sure that they know that you saw it. That's what you're saying. So around the house.
Yeah, and
at school.
Doing whatever you can to make sure you up that engagement or that confidence. So I remember reading about how we hear the word no a certain amount of times.
Yeah.
You hear the word yes a certain amount of times. And the word no comes through about 5 times more than yes. So it's no wonder we have this negative connotation on ourselves. So this person said, well, it's pretty hard to reduce the no's. You can try and reduce the no's, but what you can do is really focus on increase the yeses. So with the child, it's the same thing. Yeah, you might ask them to pick up their towel, make their bed, all those sort of things. You can try and reduce that, but what you want to really start to focus on, how can I build this child up? How can I really sow into them with the yeses, so to speak? So just keep on nailing them or complimenting them on the amazing things they are doing. And these children are doing amazing things all the time. But if we stop to actually really look and focus and go, how can I compliment them on that? You'll notice them here, there, and everywhere. And just make sure you're verbalizing it to the child, and that is going to build their confidence. And I've seen that become by far and away the best tool for us to build up these kids.
And you can imagine that would you agree that if you build their confidence as the step one of everything, do you think that leans to them being more likely to eat healthy, more likely to exercise from a psychological perspective? Because I could imagine that if they're constantly feeling bad about themselves, they don't want to go outside and see people.
Absolutely.
What do you want? I don't know about, I mean, you're probably not the right person, but if you ask most people when they're stressed, when they're sad, what do they want to do?
Yeah, they want to binge eat.
They want to fucking have some ice cream in front of the couch with a glass of wine. That's what they want. And kids are no different. They're not allowed to drink, nor should they, nor should we as adults most likely. But when our emotions, when they feel embarrassed about themselves, when they feel like a loser, like a failure, when they feel different because they look different or they feel different on the inside, which I did as a kid. Yeah, lollies were my way to kind of dopamine. What does dopamine do? It makes us feel good. So if I'm feeling crap, I want to top that up with something synthetic to make myself feel good. So I imagine just by building up that identity in that child, they're feeling good, that they'll be more likely to want to go out and do something because, number one, they've probably got more emotional energy and capacity to try new things. But on top of that, they just feel like, they don't have as much resistance to being outside. When we're feeling more stressed, we just want to be in a little shell. We don't want anyone to see us. We don't want to look at anyone. That's kind of what you're saying as well, is it?
Absolutely. I'll give you an example of it in the program. We had a child and his mum, the goal, because we have these onboarding calls, and we set goals for the children.
The kids aren't on the call, though, just the parents. No. You're having a private conversation with the parents.
Private conversation with the parents, and we're setting priorities, we call them, for the kids. It's like 2 main things we want to focus on throughout the program.
2 keystones or something like that.
Yeah, and this particular parent was I just want my little boy to really want to leave the house, go outside and engage with other kids. As in, when we turn up to your program, I just wanted him to jump out of the car, be excited to go. Because in the past, he wasn't. All he wanted to do was stay at home.
To the seatbelt. And
anytime they'd go out and do stuff, any sort of sports or any sort of out there activity, he'd just be like, inward. He just didn't want to do it. So, that's a fantastic goal. So the first thing was to really establish this, a connection, a relationship with the child. So we got
Trust.
them in earlier. He helped me set up and just really showed him all the different games and and just really built that relationship and started building him up straight away. Like, just letting him know all the little things he's doing. It might sound over the top, but to him, he's starting to really trust and believe in me or whoever he's with and anything within himself. And as a result, he thoroughly enjoyed himself. And he came home from the first session, was just bouncing off the walls, and Mum's like, who is this? Who is this kid? Anyway, the second session, straight out of the car, ran over, can't wait to get started. So she's over the moon.
So you achieved the priority after the first session.
Yeah. But here's the thing, because we're doing food, and she in this onboarding call said he won't try anything. He's got a very, very limited diet. He won't try anything. But now all of a sudden in this particular week, we're having pancakes.
Yeah.
With all the different things there.
All the Primal pancakes.
Yeah. And this is his second week. So he's already had a week under his belt. He's loved it. He's turned up, ready to go for the second week. And he's in there trying the pancakes. He had it all.
Yeah.
And his mum said, in the past, he never would have tried that. But because talking to what you said, he all of a sudden he's engaged, he's feeling better within himself, and now he's more likely to do other things within that health journey, like try nutritious foods.
Here's the thing that when in the program that I was running, which was for men, the first thing that we teach is actually based off Joe Dispenza, but it's that there is there's the you that you think that you are is not who you are, and the first thing I try to teach people through breath work and through teaching them how to navigate their mind and reconnect to the truth of who they are. It's the first thing. If you want to connect with who you are, you need to disconnect with who you are not. And so what that brings up for me is going back to my point before about just the stress. When we are stressed, we're in our head. When we're in our head, we don't want to try anything new. We just want to do what we've always done because it feels safe, because it's certain. When you can get someone, there's something called polyvagal theory, and it's like a ladder of different nervous system states. Not sure if you've heard of this. Anyway, long story short, fun and play is one of the tools and techniques or the activities that you need to do in order to get out of your fight or flight response and go into a more open response. And so if you can separate out of all of the four different ones, but just simple, there's two. There's our thrival mode and our survival mode, which is the rest and digest, and the parasympathetic and sympathetic, right? So what you're seeing is a completely different child. When you can get him to feel safe, to have fun, then these are the underlying things that, whether you're an adult, whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, doesn't matter what's going on, these are just human things. So it's just amazing to see that, and that's where you can have these kind of rapid responses. That's really really cool. So the tips for parents are, number one, feed. It's almost like that metaphor of like the soul being a garden, or a child, or anyone, just them being a garden. You need to feed them. The more, what I'm trying to say here, it's like negative comments are like poison for that person, and positive comments are really filling up. So you want to be pouring into them as many positive comments to either at least equal out to the maybe more so negatively charged ones, or if so, even more so, see if you can kind of increase them. So step one, pour more positive things into them. Step two, obviously get them naturally, as a result of that, they're more likely to be in more of a thrival state rather than a survival state. They're going to be more open to doing things. And do you think that the fact that you're in a community and they trust you was the other piece, that relationship's being built? That's why, again, they look up to you.
Absolutely.
You've got a trust and relationship with them.
Yeah.
So it's almost like sometimes that's where I think sports can be, or this type of thing can be good, where the parent, we don't, I don't know about you, but not many people want to listen to their parents. So sometimes it's not even the parent's fault. They could be doing all these things and the kid's still not listening. Wherefore, if you can find a sport or a brotherhood or a community like what you run, that can be a great way to have a second opinion of someone else that they look up to, that can kind of incentivize them, or at least kind of go, okay, cool, this guy's doing it. Maybe my dad was right, and then have all these other positive benefits.
Absolutely. I say that to the parents straight up. We're going to really play on the fact that, and I know this firsthand, that your kids don't necessarily listen to yourself, but they'll listen to strangers or listen to other people. And I say that to the parents straight up. So this is an opportunity for us to really get in there, mentor them, sow some things in, because they're going to really start to put us up on a pedestal, and really listen to us, because we are fairly new. We still want to develop those relationships, of course, and get as close as we can to them. But they're going to really listen, because the people that hang around all the time, and those parents and things like that, quite often it's just sometimes water off a duck's back. So we definitely are aware of that, and we let the parents know we're going to utilize this to our benefit.
Awesome. So what's next for you guys? You're running these 10-week programs. You've got other smaller events. We're currently in Noosa right now. You live about 30 minutes from here. Is that correct?
Yep.
So for the people who aren't in Queensland or close to where we live, are you going to be doing this stuff? Is it only up here? Do you have any plans on doing a bit of an Australian tour or anything like that? Do you have online stuff? Like, if people wanted, listening to you and like, man, this would be so cool for my son to do, being around more of this, do you guys do only face-to-face? Do you do online stuff? What would be the steps that people, might be able to go through if they wanted to have, you and your business partner, what's his name? Chris, be in their kids' lives? And if they can't, what are your recommendations?
Yeah, I mean, for now it is very face-to-face. But I'd say follow us, Juiced Up Groms, on Instagram or Facebook. And we're always putting content on there that you can utilise at home as well. But for now, it's very face-to-face. But in saying that, we want to reach people beyond just our immediate area.
Yes.
So we've got our live programs at the moment. We've got our bush bandits, our excursion where we go out in the bush, coming up for the first time this holidays, which is going to be massive. It's going to be heaps and heaps of fun. But beyond that, moving on next, do plan to get into some more areas where we can start to reach and impact families.
Yes.
And when I say families, I don't mean just the kids. It's just like me and my wife. So my wife is a practitioner with healing around energy, and she does a lot of stuff with kids as well.
Yeah.
So we've got this idea to really create this package or this program where we take on families and really involve the parents, because the parents, you got to involve them. If they're not right, well then, the kids are going to suffer. So you got to get the parents first, because they're the baseline. So we're going to do this.
It's very hard to make a transformation in the child's life when the parents might be eating crap and the child's saying, I'd like a Primal pancake, thanks. And the parent's like, I'm too busy. Shake, pour it in the pan.
Yeah, exactly.
With some sort of crappy spray oil or something.
Yep. So I'd say follow us on Instagram and engage in the content there. Follow, get the recipes, get the ideas, we do like core strength programs for kids.
Yeah.
It doesn't involve sit-ups and things like that, because kids don't want to be on the ground doing sit-ups. We do things that are going to really engage the kids. So follow along with that stuff. There's heaps of stuff on there, and then coming soon there will be more things.
Did I see on your Instagram
offline.
there was like an app or something I saw?
An app?
Tool, something. You had something you're promoting on your Instagram recently.
We've got a few little online tools, like nothing huge, but like little tick charts. We've got our little 10-day challenge where you get a bunch of recipes and 10 days of workouts. Because
I'm just thinking, like, let's say, someone's watching this and they want to take some action. They could go onto your Instagram right now, could they? And there'd be a link to, or we could just put the link straight underneath this video. And they could go into like a 10-day challenge. They could learn a little bit more about, and they've got, say, Primal recipes, some exercise, some stuff that they could do with their kids. And then that would at least do a kickstart. Is that's what you're saying?
Yep, for sure. Yeah, there's some little online tools and online programs there. Yep.
Wicked.
I think we charge I can't remember. I think it's $1.
$1. There you go. $1 donation, gold coin donation.
Yeah.
Awesome, mate. Well, look, I've had an absolutely amazing time chatting with you today, and I really think that the listeners, be it parents right now or parents in the future, the purpose of this podcast is really to share ideas. Do you know what I mean? I think a lot of people are in a state of kind of confirmation bias where, like you said, I was angry when I found out this information and no one had freaking told me. I was like, I'm sure some people might have heard of like maybe the Liver King, and they thought, oh well, what's this Primal thing? And now we can kind of share this with them. So, just want to say thank you for giving up your time and your wisdom and your knowledge and your presence today. And I hope that from this podcast we can invite people into the idea of this kind of much more ancient style of living, so they can thrive in life. Final thing, obviously, this is the Make Men Great Again podcast. We've talked today about being your best self as a man, and we've talked about helping the next generation. Last question: what do you feel, taking into account all the things we said before, government, business, busyness, family, all these different things, what do you think that we need to do to make men great again? Do we need to? What's your opinion on that?
Oh, there's always something we can do. And I would just say this, and it really relates to what I've been talking about all day today.
Yeah,
but it's
okay.
Give yourself the ancestor test. So anything you want to do or you're in thought about, or should I or shouldn't I do this, give it the ancestor test, meaning would have our ancestors done this? So this is what I'm doing with myself all the time. I'm asking myself, if it's sort of something I'm a little bit torn between, I go, what's the best result for me in regards to following the path that our ancestors would have done?
Yeah. And last thing on that, I mean, for someone who says, well, I don't really, like, why should I do an ancestor test? What would you say to that? Because, go back to what we said before, was because they were thriving and we're not. And so we've lost our way along this, like that's the mindset that you're kind of going with it.
Yeah, I guess, like if you can't relate to, because it's been a process, like I guess I probably didn't relate to our ancestors or cavemen beforehand, but I've since have learnt to do that. So if you can't relate to something like that, it's like, think about who are the happiest, most vital, healthiest people in the world. Okay, and it's the people that live basically maybe in these blue zones. Lives. It's those cave people. It's the people that seem to be detached from the hustle and bustle.
So it goes back to the basics, the basic tenets of kind of going, okay, if you want to thrive, do the things that other people have done to thrive: healthy living, community. Exercise, movement, sunlight, grounding, water, less things that have been kind of touched by.
There's two things. This is the absolute foundation of what I do in sunshine and earth. But so before you even worry about moving your body, eating the right food, sleep, purpose, relationships, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
The first two things that I personally prioritize every single day is sunlight and earth, mother and father.
Yeah.
So first thing I do, get up, I go outside, I walk on the grass, I stand on the grass,
so grounding,
I look at the horizon,
earthing.
Get that early sunlight. It might be 5 a.m, it might be 6 a.m, whatever time it is. Yep, get grounded, get earthed, get your feet connected to the ground.
Yeah.
Because this is how we charge our body.
Yeah.
We're meant to be, like, we used to be connected to the earth.
Like a battery
24/7.
charger for your body.
Yeah, you plug your iPhone into the charger. We need to plug our bodies into the earth.
Yeah.
And this is how we're going to feel our best, because when you're standing on the earth, inflammation, which is the root of all problems, all diseases, inflammation cannot exist when you're standing on the earth. That's why you see wild animals, they don't get diseases. That's why our ancestors, the cave people, they didn't get diseases, because they were always connected with the earth. So they weren't inflamed. Whereas today, we're insulated from the ground, like we're inside, we're always wearing shoes.
Yeah.
So people might think I'm a bit crazy, but you'll never see me wearing shoes.
Cam's not wearing shoes right now, by the way. He rocked up I thought he'd taken his shoes off at the front door. No, he just the barefoot bandit. I do try to ground most days, but I don't walk around. I walk around up here definitely with a lot less shoes because it's warm up here, which is awesome. But so you've got sunshine and you've got earthing. Earthing, the main reason is to reduce inflammation, and the sunshine. You're talking about sunshine and sunshine foods as well. That's something I've heard you talk about before. Just for the sake of the length of the podcast, we won't go into it too deep. You can learn more about that on Cam's Instagram. But basically, that's another way that you decide on the food is, okay, is it full of sunshine?
Is it grown and raised outside?
Yes.
And eat it. If not, if it comes from a factory, you want to...
Yeah, so if it's inside in the shade, in the dark, in the factory, probably not as great for you. If it's outside in the sunshine, be it your fruits and veggies and the animals, even for the animal of the grass fed thing versus being a factory thing, that also makes a big difference.
Yep,
dude. Thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, looking forward to seeing more of your stuff online. Let's do a bit of a handshake. This is Cam Best from Juiced Up Groms. Thanks again, Cammy. And thanks for watching, guys. I'll drop your stuff below and, we'll speak to you soon. Tune in next week for another episode of the Make Men Great Again podcast. I'm your host, Scott James Andrews, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you, Scotty. Thank you, guys.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that episode. And if you want to watch more, you know what to do. Click here, somewhere here. There'll be some videos. Watch the next episode, and I'll see you soon.